Nathan, there's something very sort of historically significant and interesting about the early Beethoven piano sonatas. Can you tell me what that might be?
Like they're very Mozartian and very much like the Haydn and the Mozart.
No, I don't think they are. They are. I mean, sure. Early Beethoven he studied with Haydn at the time he writes this piece, and they are very certainly they owe stylistically they belong to the same world in many respects. Absolutely, as does all early Beethoven, as does Beethoven in general, really. But there's one very basic thing different about this, the Opus 2 sonatas, the Opus 7 sonata, the Opus 10 sonatas, from any sonatas that Haydn and Mozart wrote. Can you think what it might be?
There's something in common, you're saying?
Yeah, and something they have in common which is different from Haydn and Mozart. Very different.
They have this Beethoven temperament.
Yeah, they do. I'm thinking about a pianistic. What I'm thinking about basically, Beethoven, first, far harder.
They're orchestral?
Yes, they're far more difficult.
They're orchestral.
Yes, they are orchestral, but they're also far more difficult.
Yes, tiny.
Yes, and there's a reason for that. That's what I'm getting at, which has to do with I'm getting the long way.
The details?
No, it's really actually for a kind of both a simple and yet a complex reason. Haydn and Mozart never ever wrote a sonata for anybody other than a student. Haydn wasn't a pianist himself particularly anyway, but Mozart was a great pianist. When he wanted to write pieces for himself to play, he wrote concertos, or trios, or violin sonatas. When he wrote pieces for his students, he wrote piano sonatas. Because in the 18th century, the piano sonata was not something for professional pianists. It was considered very much a minor and
very amateur.
Yeah, an amateur. Now look, I'm not saying that Mozart sonatas are not beautiful and not hard. They are. But it's just a different kind of mindset he has for them. Now, Beethoven, comes to Vienna, he's 21 years old. He also was a great pianist. He wants to make his name. And Beethoven, for complicated reasons, I think, instead of doing the pieces that were the normal things that a pianist would make his name, writing concertos, he doesn't write concertos, but he writes an enormous number of piano sonatas, which he always plays himself. These pieces are written for him, entirely for himself. Not only are they difficult, but they have all of his specialties. For instance, they have certain, like the last movement, the wrist things. Yeah. That was a house specialty. Every pianist has his specialties, her specialties. We all have them. Another one of Beethoven's specialties were double and triple trills, playing, or even quadruple, playing trills with more than one. Like at the end, you have that in the last movement also. That also at the beginning a little bit too, actually. But at the end when it goes. Yeah. That was very much. Are you supposed to be my lesson now?
Yeah.
You're late.
Sorry, Professor. Here's right 315.
Yes, and they changed it to 314. They didn't tell you. I'm gonna listen. Stay here. I'll listen to you too. I'll go fast. She signed up for it, so I should. But I can talk to you. I still want to talk to you a second. So look, Beethoven wrote these pieces for himself, and there's a very important thing about that. It has to do with slow movements, because Beethoven, as a pianist, we know this because of contemporary records. The people of his time, when they talked about him. They said he had great trills. He's famous for his trills. But he was mostly famous for his slow movements. Beethoven revolutionized the emotional content and the dramatic, sustained power in his slow movements.
This second movement, I think, is particularly very special and
and as in so many of the early Beethoven sonatas, the most important and the most original movement is the slow movement.
And heart of the piece. The heart.
Yeah, exactly. The heart of the piece. That gets into also a very interesting thing, because Beethoven is starting to change the whole balance. Because before Beethoven, in sonatas, string quartets, symphonies, and multi-movement pieces, the first movement is always the most important movement, and the other movements are all basically entertainment. And that's exactly what they would do, by the way. If you did a symphony or a concerto or a string quartet, you would usually play the first movement before dinner, when people were still sober and still listening, and then you would play the other movements after, separate. Because they were considered to be, and this by the way, historically, there's a historical reason for this. think about Bach suites. Think about the partitas. The first movement is always serious and has a fugue and is longer. And then after the first movement, it's dances. It's all just dances.
Also, like I've played only one with the B flat major. The first one seems more sustained.
Yeah, that's a little bit exceptional case, the B flat, the first partita. Yeah,
That one's
but historically speaking, in the suites, and the sonata grows out of the suite historically. So these slow movements are very personal and very special. That was the whole thing. I think in this slow movement, I'm going to go unfortunately, I want to hear it, so I'm going to go very fast. You know, Beethoven has a very dramatic movement, and there's two completely different worlds. The first world, the E major world in the beginning, is very, almost formal, with all these silences, and has a very great simplicity. And you need to play it. You actually play it rather well, although I wish you would think more about the rest. The rests speak. Sometimes rests in conversation, when we talk. Young man, when are you going to do your homework? The silence is as powerful. You wouldn't say, young man, when are you going to do your, if I just say to you, young man, when are you going to do your homework? It's quite different than if I say, young man, when are you going to do your homework? That silence is...
Gives more drama
Yeah,
more temperament.
It's not just, yes, it's counting, but it's also feeling and hearing the silence. So you need to make sure that you listen to yourself very well in those silences. And then the inner section, the middle section. Now this was brand new. No one had ever written like this for piano before. And so that starts very solemn in the minor, and then this beautiful and that's which are like sighs, like very much like talking or something. I hear them very, very, very emotional. I think that you can play this part somewhat more freely. Not the other part. The contrast is beautiful between the more formal part and this very emotional part. Romantic. You shouldn't worry about words like that.
Something like Brahms?
No, different. I mean, like Beethoven, that's all. It is what it is. But especially, let me show you very quickly, especially paying attention to the harmonic context. Okay, so we have to get into it. Very legatos. So out of tune. See the harmonies? That's one harmony, that's a different harmony. Beethoven writes sforzando. That sforzando isn't a loud sforzando, it's a emotion. Diminished seventh chord. And notice it's different when you play the bass there than the bass here. That's very sort of settled feeling. And this is like in the air. So you need to be much more conscious. I'm not crazy about your pedaling. You pedal the bass through. It's not wrong. I can't stand here and tell you, Nathan, you're wrong and I'm right. I mean, because we don't know. Beethoven didn't write pedals. Or he does, but only later in his career. But the problem if you do this is that I don't hear this enough as an individual, like as a side. And so if you pedal, I pedal 3 times. Pedal.
Chop, right?
Yes, but never too short. Not. In other words, it's not. That would be much worse. Much better your pedaling. Just to put more emphasis on the, or maybe even a half pedal. It's hard to do. But anyway, I like the separation. One other thing I think you need to think about a little bit. Early Beethoven, piano was still pretty small, pretty limited. I think you have to be a little more careful with fortissimo. The fortissimos were not ugly. You didn't bang. You have a good sound. But I think that even like, be a big surprise. Be careful not to make it too, not Brahms. It's still, you know, a little bit more classical sounds. Of course, it's supposed to be a surprise. It's supposed to be a shock. It's supposed to be, the audience is supposed to, yes, but you have to do it within the framework still. This is 1795. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, one other little thing. Don't forget that. That's sort of the cadence. You should shape that a little bit better. Because after this, which is beautiful, that's really just like coda. That's like after. So you be sure you hear.
The rest is it falls back.
Yeah, it falls. That's what cadence means. Cadence in Italian comes from cadere, which means to fall. It sort of falls into it again, and then it goes on. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't.
It's okay.